Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all enjoying the new season. I am definitely liking everything they added with regards to the UFOs and the new weapons and stuff. Just a little bit disappointed with the Battle Pass skins, but you know, you can't have everything. Similar to the past two seasons, we have a lot of hidden milestone quests, which give you quite a bit of XP. So in this video, I'm quickly going to tell you which ones there are and how you can complete them. Starting off, there's assist teammates with eliminations. I recommend playing Team Rumble for this one. There are so many different teammates that can help you finish off an enemy. And what I like doing is grabbing myself an AR, just hitting an opponent once and then just walking away from them. Eventually they're going to get picked off and that's going to help you complete this milestone. The next one is catch fish, and there's another one which is called use fishing spots. You can easily do these ones together, and unless you're very unlucky and don't fight any fish at all but mostly find weapons, you should be able to complete these ones together. It's very odd that there is still a quest in a game called collect animal bones. Even though we still have animals walking around on the map, they don't drop bones anymore, just meat. Since the crafting system has also been updated, I really don't think they'll bring animal bones back, so why this is a quest? I don't know. For collect gold, I would recommend completing the first 3 tiers, and if you really feel like it, you can do the 4th one as well. For collect meat, I recommend completing the first 2 tiers. You don't have a lot of wildlife on the map anymore, and even though frogs now also drop meat, it still goes very slowly, so I wouldn't bother spending my time trying to find animals and then collecting that meat. And the glitch that you had last season where you throw meat on the ground and then pick it up again, that also doesn't seem to work, unfortunately. Completing bounties I would also do in Team Rumble, but you are now completely dependent on the bounty boards. There is no NPC on the map that will give you a bounty, so I think that over the course of this season it's pretty reasonable to complete 50 bounties while you're just playing the game, but if you want to farm them, I think you're gonna have a pretty bad time. Hopefully they'll introduce some changes later in the season which will make it easier to activate a bounty. But on the other hand, since Epic made it more difficult to activate a bounty, it might also mean that they're slowly removing it from the game. Then we have several milestones that all relate to quests. There's complete common, epic, legendary, rare, and uncommon quests. The rare ones are the ones that I'm discussing in this video. Epic and legendary quests you get once a week, and every day at the challenge's reset time you will get 3 uncommon quests. And once you complete those, they will turn into common quests and you can complete those indefinitely. I think it also counts when you complete a quest from an NPC. Those are usually common and uncommon. If you just keep doing those, you should also be able to complete the milestones for this. Crafting weapons is pretty straightforward. However, when you craft a weapon this season, you no longer upgrade it to a new rarity. You instead side grade it, so you can do this with assault rifles, shotguns, and SMGs. And then as I mentioned earlier, you don't use mechanical parts and animal bones anymore. Instead, you now have the nuts and bolts. The next couple of milestones are all related to consuming items. There's apples, bananas, foraged items in general, and mushrooms. For some of these milestones, I'll make a separate video if there's a really good location to do one of them, or if there's an easy method to complete multiple at once. Catty Corner and the Orchard are still very good locations to get a lot of forage items and then just stand in a campfire and consume all of them. Dealing damage from above is pretty straightforward, and I wouldn't bother grinding it because you probably will unlock this naturally over the course of this season. If you like spending time in a UFO, that will also definitely help you complete this milestone, but the 30 damage that a UFO shot does is not a whole lot. Damaging opponents is also really straightforward. The last milestone unlocks at 500,000 damage dealt. I know that may seem like a whole lot, but I think that most of the players will actually unlock this faster than they can imagine. Damage to vehicles with a player inside is going to be quite tricky. I completed this one last season during a special LTM, I think it was called Car Royale, so I definitely recommend keeping an eye out for an LTM like that. And then another thing you could do is whenever you're playing solo, duos, trios, or squads, try to land at any of the named locations of which the names are purple, because you're going to have 3 UFOs with enemies inside, and if you damage them, you should also be making progression towards this challenge. Sofas, beds, or chairs destroyed with a pickaxe seems very reasonable. You only need 500 to complete the max tier, and I think that if you land at Weeping Woods a couple of times, or go to the Durburger restaurant or the fish stick one, you should be able to complete this in no time. Then we have destroy shrubs, destroy trees, and destroy stones. For the shrub one, I would just grab a vehicle, go to holly hedges, and destroy every single one of the shrubs that are kind of covering holly hedges. If you drive through them, they basically just take 1 hit and will be destroyed, and you should be able to complete this quest in maybe 2 or 3 games. For destroy trees, you can set Weeping Woods on fire several times. The fire is just going to spread out over all the trees. And once they get destroyed, it's going to count towards this milestone. And it also counts when you complete the other one, which is called Ignite Structures on Fire, but we'll get to that in a bit. Destroy stones is a bit more difficult. You could either get a mud flap and try to drive through the stones that are near Believer Beach, or you can just wait and see how far you get with this one naturally. I think it is pretty boring to spend an entire day just breaking stones. It also goes relatively slow, so you need to decide for yourself if it's worth your time or not. Then there's distance traveled on foot, while swimming, while gliding, and in a vehicle. These are all really self-explanatory, and I'm assuming you will be able to complete most of these by the end of the season. The only one that might be difficult is distance traveled on foot, but you can boost this by consuming a pepper or a spicy fish. Dawn creature disguises can be completed by purchasing a disguise from 4 different NPCs on the map. The first one is Bushranger, who you can find at the middle of the map. Then there's Hayseed at the Steel Farm, Joey in Dirty Dogs, and Abstract in Retail Row. Eliminations from 150 meters or more is one of the milestones that I would not bother completing myself. I feel like the effort required and the reward that you get for it are really unbalanced, so unless I complete this one while playing, I probably won't go ahead and actively try to do so. It's quite nice that we have sniper rifles back. That makes doing this a whole lot easier. The next milestones all relate to eliminations, and they are very self-explanatory. There's eliminations with an assault rifle, eliminations with common or uncommon weapons, with explosives, headshot eliminations, eliminations with pistols, with shotguns, SMGs, sniper rifles, and then there's also one for just eliminating players in general. If you compare this one to the one where you have to damage opponents, then this one seems like significantly less effort than the other one. There's the last milestone related to eliminations, and this one is with a harpoon gun, which is also my personal favorite. Up next there's hit weak points, which seems easy enough. Then hunt animals, for which you have to hunt 1,000 animals in order to get the max tier. I think that's quite unrealistic, so I'd say completing the first 2 tiers should be fine. Moving on, we have a couple of fire ones. The ignite opponents with fire was a lot easier when we still had the flame bow, but I think that you can still do this relatively easy if you grab yourself some fireflies and then play Team Rumble. Once the final zone starts closing in, you want to throw those fireflies at grass, and then it'll spread automatically and ignite players that are either building with wood or just walking through the grass. It might also work if you damage IO guards with this, but I haven't checked that yet. For igniting structures with fire, you just want to grab a whole bunch of fireflies and then throw them at the trees and weeping woods. Melee eliminations can be quite difficult, but if you play a lot of duos, trios, or squads, which doesn't even have to be with a friend, you can just turn Phil on. But once you knock an opponent, you don't want to shoot at them, you just want to beat them with your pickaxe until they get eliminated, and this will count towards this milestone. Melee damage to structures is one of the milestones that you will complete while just playing the game. And if you really want to grind this, then try to go into Team Rumble and find an opponent's build that wanted to travel a long distance. So if you see a skybase anywhere, just go to the top and then start beating your way down. It will complete this one in no time. Mod vehicles is a very generous milestone. You only need 50 to complete the last tier. And it's quite easy to mod a vehicle. You go to any of the named locations that have a garage, grab yourself the off-road tires, throw them at a vehicle, and you're done. Place top 10 on the other hand seems like a very long grind. I think that placing top 10 at least 100 times will just happen throughout the season, but 200 and 300 times it may need a bit of grinding. Obviously that depends on how much you play the game. Player structures destroyed while in a vehicle is actually very easy this season. You just grab yourself a UFO, you look for any enemy that's building, and they will automatically start to build when you're shooting them with the UFO, and just complete this in no time. Like, you only need to destroy 300 structures, which is very easy, so I wouldn't worry about this one. Then there's reboot teammates and revive teammates. If you don't have anyone to play with, then I recommend doing this in a bot lobby as well, or just using an alternate account, because in my experience, whenever I turn Phil on, my teammates always leave when they go down or when they're knocked, and I don't necessarily wait for you to reboot them. Searching ammo boxes and chests is something that you will most likely complete towards the end of the season. However, if you want to grind it, then definitely play Team Rumble, because there's just a way higher chance of ammo boxes and chests spawning there. Searching ice machines can be a little bit more difficult, but there are a lot of them to be found at Believer Beach and in Weeping Woods. And then searching supply drops is something you also want to do in Team Rumble, because once the first zone starts closing in, there will be so many supply drops just falling from the skies, and this will continue on towards the end of the match. Now for Shakedown Opponents, I think that most people will unlock this relatively quickly, just because it's very useful to know where the other enemies are hiding. A cool new feature this season is that you can cancel your shakedown, which is extremely convenient, because sometimes I do it accidentally and then I get rushed by several other enemies, but if you have the time you can just continue to shake, and otherwise you pick them up afterwards. Spending bars is also quite self-explanatory. Upgrade your weapons, purchase an exotic, or just buy a mass supply drop. Anything will be fine really. Then there is Tame Animals. This is slightly different than last season. You can only tame the wolves and the boars, and for boars you need vegetables or fruits, and for wolves you need the meat from other animals, so you can eliminate a boar, a chicken, or a frog. and then throw it at the wolves and you can tame them afterwards. Up next we have thanking the bus driver, and there's also a feature to tip the bus driver this season, so I'm not sure if they're making him a lot more important because they kind of ignored his existence in the first couple of 10 seasons, and then afterwards you had the opportunity to thank him. But yeah, just press your emote button at the start of the match and you will be able to complete this along the way. Then there's upgrade weapons, use bandages and medkits, use shield potions, and use fishing spots. All of these are really self-explanatory. You can upgrade weapons at the upgrade benches now, but they cost a lot of gold, even the grey ones. If you want to upgrade those to the green rarity, it costs 200 gold, which is a lot. And lastly, there's use campfires. You can find a lot of campfires near the Weeping Woods area, so just walk your way around it, ignite them, and you should be able to complete this one. That's going to be it for this video. If anything is unclear, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. Also, let me know what you think of this season. And for now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace!